The last 100,000 years have been good for humankind. All around us, even in the poorest of nations, humans have made remarkable advances in proficiency and ability. The accomplishments have been the subject of many books, yet very few sources actually delve into the origins and anthropology of where we come from and what shaped our identities. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, seeks to explore these questions and introduces us to the dominant species on this world, the Homo sapiens. My name is Shirvan and this is a review for the bookshelf. Harari is a professor of history at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. In earlier years, he wrote extensively about the medieval era. However, when his faculty asked him to give courses on world history, the author refocused his studies towards macro-historical processes. In 2011, Harari wrote Sapiens, which then became a bestseller and has since been translated into 36 languages. The core of the book studies the entire length of human history, from its biological evolution to the Stone Age up to the political revolutions of the 21st century. Within these time frames, Sapiens provides an oversight of inventions such as writing, trade, and money that have enabled humans to dominate the world. However, unlike most history books, Harari emphasizes the process towards the inventions. So, he explains the humble origins of the writing system from the ancient Sumerians, who used it to keep track of the grain quotas. But he also discloses the evolution of societies and civilizations. For instance, early on, the author explains that human infants are born helplessly because of their small hips, which they require later in life to walk up straight. Due to their long childhoods, human children could not be brought up by single individuals. It required at least two persons, which in turn explains monogamy as well as the social constructs of human societies. In Sapiens, Harari describes a number of revolutions that fundamentally shape the social constructs of modern humans. He explains that the first change was the cognitive revolution, which occurred roughly 70,000 years ago. Just as today we observe different species of wolves, horses, and bears, at the time there were different species of humans. Homo sapiens occupied the lands of East African savanna, and their lives were similar to the other human species. Then something extraordinary happened. For reasons that are still obscure, modern humans started behaving in more resourceful ways than before, and rapidly spread to all the corners of the world. With the arrival of Homo sapiens, the other human species died off, and the former rose to the top of the food chain. The best clarification for this phenomenon is the fact that humans were able to cooperate in far larger numbers than other species. While Neanderthalers peaked at groups of 50, humans, however, cooperated within groups of 500, which dramatically increased their strength. In time, with the introduction of proto-religions and proto-nations, the number of human social groupings increased to millions. Large-scale mutual effort between humans was mostly possible due to the capacity for language, which allowed humans to gossip and socialize. However, while other species of mammals, such as chimpanzees, need to be familiar with their members in their group to cooperate with, humans, on the other hand, have no need for this. Language allowed humans to conceive shared beliefs, or imagined realities as the author calls it, which enabled the formation of societies, cultures, religions, empires, companies, etc. Therefore, much of history revolves around the persuasion of millions of people in a particular idea. When this imagined reality succeeds, it allows millions of strangers to cooperate and work towards a common goal. The cognitive revolution and the capacity to imagine a different reality is what separates humans from the animal kingdom. For instance, one will never be able to convince a chimpanzee to give up its fruits with the argument that after death it will receive an unlimited supply of fruits in heaven. Only humans can be convinced by such ideas. Even opposing groups of humans who share no cultural values will share common beliefs in other social constructs such as money and government. These myths are so embedded in our social and material order that it is difficult to overthrow them. That being said, the author clarifies that an idea exists as long as people talk about it. The moment they stop believing, the idea disappears and people move on, which explains the rise and fall of nations, currencies, and ideologies. The following transformation, Harari argues, was the agricultural revolution that occurred about 12,000 years ago. For individuals, switching from foraging to farming was in no way an improvement of life. In fact, it was quite the opposite. People had to work more for less. However, the agricultural revolution established economic classes and political hierarchy and increased the collective output. Eventually, smaller cultures assimilated into larger civilizations, which then established empires. And for a long time in history, distant realms had little to do with one another. Yet, as monotheistic religions prevailed over other forms of faith, civilizations and empires overlapped. The end result is the world of today, which is practically a globalized civilization. In later chapters, the book explains that the modern form of empires are not necessarily states. A coalition of scientists, economists, and intellectuals can form a collection of imagined realities. Think of Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and the millions of followers these firms have. However, the rise of empires, religions, ideologies, and multinational firms have also subjected individual freedoms. While hunter-gatherers required individual skills to survive, modern humans, however, are provided with nearly all of their basic needs, such as food, clothing, medicine, tools, and more. As such, people require less individual skills and depend more on the collective dexterity, which has resulted in the standardization of identities. For instance, in the past, certain cultures had a set of skills. The Turks were horse breeders and warriors, whereas the Spanish excelled in sailing and the Vikings were traders and explorers. In modern times, the collective needs have refined cultures to certain standards. So, for example, a sick person will receive nearly the same treatment in France as he will in Japan. Even opposing groups such as Israel and Iran both adhere to ideas such as capitalism, and both have national political parties that function within a parliament. Thus, regardless of our opinions and feelings, humankind is losing its individual traits and assimilating into a globalized pattern. It's obvious that Sapiens is not a summary of key moments in history, but a series of observations that helps to make sense of the evolution of the human species as well as the ensuing civilizations and societies. In this context, it's clear that Harari was inspired by the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche and the American anthropologist Jared Diamond. In about 400 pages, Harari vividly explains the invention of coinage, the creation of empires, and the foundation of monotheism, but he also reveals the origins of cathedrals, communism, the moon landing, and even modern pop culture. In his effort to explain contemporary political and cultural issues, Harari combines multiple disciplines of anthropology, including the social, cultural, and historical studies. Seldom has a book succeeded in such storytelling. The conclusion of Sapiens is thought-provoking, but obviously a source of this magnitude leaves many open questions about the future of humankind, which the author addresses in his follow-up book called Homo Deus. There, he analyzes the nearby future and speculates that advances in AI and biotechnology will one day lead to the replacement of modern humans by different beings. In any case, if you want to purchase Sapiens or even Homo Deus, use our Amazon link in the description or use our promo code Caspia-20 without the N. The prices will remain the same, but the funds will help to support our channel. And if you still cannot get enough of historical political anthropology, I highly recommend following the author's YouTube channel and playlist called Brief History of Humankind, in which he gives public online classes. This was a Caspian Report review. For the bookshelf, check out our playlist for additional books and sources. Also, special thanks to our top contributors on Patreon who keep our channel afloat and independent from sponsors. Check out patreon.com/Caspian Report for more information. In any case, thank you so much for your time and Sarol.